It is 7 p.m. on April 3rd. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Brattleboro Development Review meeting. The schedule is a bit crowded tonight, and for everybody's benefit, I'll just mention we have less than the usual 7, which means that, do we have Mike available to watch on video?
I've asked him, but he hasn't responded yet.
Okay. If anybody here wants to be heard by the 6 of us, you need 4 votes, even though we're only 6. We don't know if we can get a 7th person to review the testimony tonight. What we generally do is we will, if you like, continue it, or you can give your presentation and we'll give you a bit of a weather report on where we stand, and you can decide whether or not you'd like to ask us to vote with the 6, or if you'd like us to ask to shoot for a 7th. So for everybody here who's sitting and waiting for their turn, that's something for you to consider as you do so. At the Development Review Board, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrator decisions. Procedurally, we operate on the record. What that means is that we take a record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties, and we issue a written decision with our findings based on that. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that because we're on the record, this is your opportunity and your only opportunity to comment on and provide evidence relating to any application. If our decision is appealed to the Environmental Court, the court will look at the record from this evening, from this hearing tonight, and it will not take new testimony or consider new evidence at its hearing. It will review whether the evidence here is supported by the law and whether our findings make sense in light thereof. The only interested parties that participate in this proceeding are allowed to appeal a decision before this board, a decision made by this board. So I strongly encourage you all to speak up at this hearing. Because we're on the record, we ask that you swear or affirm that your testimony is truthful. So if anybody in this room thinks there's even the slightest possibility they may speak on an application, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and I'm going to swear you all in en masse. So raise your right hand. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the cause under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Okay. If you didn't swear yourself in and you change your mind, just tell us and you can still give testimony later. If you didn't swear, if I didn't swear you in and you try to give testimony, it doesn't count. That's not enough to be evidence on the record. After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of this hearing. While we may vote on an application, it is the issuance of the written decision that controls the timeline for appeal. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development. The town does not have special status before this board. Documents provided to this board by the town planning department, the town attorney, or any other town departments are considered in exactly the same way as testimony by interested parties or by the applicant. Can you close that door, Gordon?
Yes.
The first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from our previous hearing, which was February 22nd, 2017.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion of those minutes? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I'm abstaining because I wasn't at the meeting.
1 abstention. So we've got a tight 5-0-1 passage on the minutes.
Does it count I watched it?
What's that?
Does it count that I watched it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh, it does? I watched it too.
Do you want to withdraw your abstention?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Well.
approve.
Okay. So we'll change the record to reflect a 6-0 vote. Mr. Bannon, has this been properly warned?
Yes, it has.
Okay. Disclosure of conflicts of interest and ex parte communications. In the past, I represented the Raptises, who are the subject of 2017-27. I have no present relationship with them at this time, and I don't view that as a conflict of interest. I'm just disclosing it for good measure. Anybody else? Okay. The first case, 2016-112, New England Center for the Circus Arts. Mr. Bristol.
Good evening, and Gordon Bristol, and I will try to be brief for you. As promised, we are back before you with our proposed landscape plan. You have copies in front of you, I am told, so I won't bother putting a graphic up. We had Gordon Hayward from Putney design this for us, and you also have your internal planner review that it appears as if we've met the various criteria. So I will just open up for questions and let the plan be self-explanatory.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? It appears to me as though the applicant meets the standards.
There was one question about the
Yes.
locust trees and about whether, is that, where am I?
The honey locust?
You're talking about the 4 that are outside the right-of-way?
I don't know. Wait a minute, I might be confused. I read all of these and they're all blurring.
That happens.
I think the only
No,
thing,
no,
you're
That's it.
okay?
Thank you.
yeah, no, I'm fine.
Any further questions from the board? Members of the public, anybody here interested in landscaping Circus site? Okay. Well, if that's the case, I suppose we'll have a motion to approve application 2016-112. Mr. Bristol's going to set a speed record here.
We're trying to set the tone for the rest of the night for you.
Thank you so much.
So moved.
Okay?
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And as always, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Welcome.
Have a nice night. The next application is Windham Windsor Housing Trust through Peter Paggi, 2017-9. I'm sorry, I feel like I get your name wrong every time.
Paji.
Paggi. Was everybody here who's sitting today here for the last presentation on this application?
Yes.
I watched it,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
That's fine.
Go ahead.
Fred Sanderson with Stevens and Associates, working with the Windham Windsor Housing Trust for the Lamplighter or Great River Terrace project. As you mentioned, we were here previously, and we already have site plan approval. The reason that we're here today is specifically just to deal with a retaining, not really a retaining wall, a blast wall that is located along the property line behind this building, which is there specifically because the neighboring property has 4 above-ground propane tanks, and from a funding perspective, we need to protect the building that's proposed, that's on this lot in case there's a blast. I think it's a 14-foot wall, and the zoning regulations limit you to, or want you to be down near 8 feet. So in order to protect the building, though, it needs to be at 14 feet. Topographically, there's issues that require that. And actually, what I have, we provide some data this morning to Brian, which was speaking to the variance request. Should I pass that out to them? Okay.
That'd be great.
You take this to mean that the burial solution is no longer,
It's still on the table.
Yeah, that's,
Still on the table. We're just having trouble getting that to come through.
That is still our preferred
Great, thank you.
method of dealing with the issue.
I do with
We've
my
just
problems.
What's that?
That's what I do with my problems.
Fair, right. We've been having some communication trouble with the owner. They're out of state, and it's just coordination's an issue. So this is a worst case scenario, but
Our preference is still to bury them.
yes.
Yeah.
I think that's best for everybody, but.
We talked a little bit about visual mitigation.
Yep.
And I think the idea was that a swale or there was nothing you could really do with that sort of screen, but that landscaping might at least mitigate the front of it.
From a screening perspective, you've got landscaping along the road here. I believe you had suggested the idea of landscaping that edge at the butt end of the wall, and I would be happy to do that as, you know, as a condition. I think that you had also mentioned the idea of a creeping vine to soften that. You know, we do have this visual screen, and the building itself provides a fairly decent screen, but to provide in the office, we sort of talked about the idea of a Virginia creeper that would go up it. We're open to, you know, adjusting that if that's a concern, but I would suggest if the variance is approved that we work with the planning department to approve the landscaping adjustments, you know, if that's a condition, and I'm happy to do that.
The orange to the right of that's a parking lot, right?
No, actually, that's the hotel itself. So the there's building, this is an existing building, which is the hotel that the property that has the tanks is on.
Okay.
The property line is basically this side of the dark line that goes right down through here. Then this is one of the existing lamplighter buildings.
Yeah, okay.
That's an existing lamplighter building, and that's a proposed community center.
Is there anything to mitigate the view from the motel next door?
I would think the vine would actually do that as well. And there's an existing shrub line that's pretty dense right along that, right between the two. There's 15 feet, 20 feet of width.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's pines.
And they've not submitted anything to comment on this, right?
No, they have not.
And they are aware of the project. We started communication with them about burying the tanks, obviously, and we told them all the details of the wall, so they're fully aware of everything.
Brian, I can't actually remember having ever done a variance. Is it a separate motion, or is it as part of the motion relating to the application if we do that?
Just do a motion where it explicitly says variance, but
Okay. Okay.
I think the agenda item is worded
Okay.
just saying
Fine.
variance.
I don't really have any further questions. We kind of beat this one up last meeting, but if anybody else does, now's the time. Any public comment? Okay. So there's really two ways we can do the landscaping. We can specify now how we'd like them to landscape it, the Virginia creeper and the tree in front, or we can just leave it to the zoning administrator and put a condition in there saying landscaping is approved by zoning administrator. Do you guys have a
Sounds good.
preference?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Zoning administrator?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll give them some flexibility, you know, if the Virginia creeper doesn't grow this year or something. So having that in mind, I'll entertain a motion to approve application 2017-9 with a condition providing that the applicant must arrange for landscaping to provide some visual mitigation, which would be approved by the zoning administrator. And as part of our motion, we'll note that we've concluded that we reviewed and concluded that the applicant meets the variance approval criteria. So moved.
Second?
Well, I don't,
Oh, I
I'm
said
hoping
some-
someone would say so moved.
So move.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so the application passes 4-1-0.
Thank you.
No problem, have a nice night. Yeah. Okay.
Passes 5-1, right?
5-1.
5-1.
Am I doing, I forget to count myself, pardon me.
Yeah, I don't
Spotlight on you.
know anything about trees.
The next application is 2017-18. John Ross for Matthew and Adrienne Raptis. Is there John Ross? Well, I know the Raptis is not here.
I don't have that one.
Don't think he has shown up, but I think the board has enough information from the application to consider it and ask for public feedback.
Okay.
Where's the-
So, we've had a chance to review this sort of homestead farm application.
So they're not coming in for building permit for the barn. They're just coming in for approval to have animals.
That's correct. It requires a conditional use approval to have anything more than chickens or household pets. They have a number of farm animals which they keep as pets. They're not used for production. Their plan is to clear an area to have pasture for the animals and to build a barn. They haven't submitted a site plan for that, something that could be approved administratively. If the board does approve the keeping of the animals, any particular buffering or design conditions could be placed on a future administrative permit.
Now, have they given any indication of the size of the barn?
No, they haven't, but it will meet the dimensional requirements of the district.
Do we know if they've notified the neighbors?
The neighbors have been notified.
By an announcement of this meeting,
By letter.
I was not notified, and I live directly across the street.
Okay, and what's your,
Pamela Hardy, 152 Orchard Street.
okay. Did you see the permit poster?
I did not.
And how did you become aware of the meeting?
The notification of this meeting?
Yeah.
An invitation to
In the, from,
a printed letter listing your schedule for tonight.
oh, okay, so you received that in the mail?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
Is that the letter to which you referred?
Yes,
Yeah, you're both
I'm sorry,
talking about
I
the
wasn't
same
being
thing.
clear.
We require any applicant to send copies of that stuff to the abutters, and that's, I think, what Brian was talking about and what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, I don't really even know what questions to ask about horses, donkeys, and hens, but if we have an abutter here, unless there are other people from the board here who have questions, I think we should hear from them. So you got a microphone. Do you want to speak to this application?
Only I have no objection as long
Oh.
as I hear from you that it is not a business. It's not a for-profit farm, it's a gentleman farm, as it were.
It's not even a farm, it's that they keep farm animals as pets.
I have no objection. I'm
All right.
delighted to have a farm on Orchard Street.
As I understand it, they've got an application for a separate business, a naturopathic business.
That's
also
a separate
being-
applicant.
Yeah, that's.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's also being heard tonight, which suggests that this
Yes.
is,
I do have lots.
Oh, there's also some other abutting neighbors.
we have some other abutting neighbors, okay. Normally we would have questions as a board, but we don't have anybody to ask those questions to, so I think it's easier if you just come up to the microphone. If you could just say who you are for the record. Did I swear everybody in? Everybody's sworn in. If you could just come up to the microphone, this is only if you want to comment, you don't have to, of course, but if you wish to comment, come up to the microphone, say who you are, and tell us what you think.
Are you talking to me?
Anybody. As long as you're orderly, we don't care about the order.
So Judy and Bill Daly,
We abut the property line on the northern side, quite a long property line to the Raptis property. And we have concerns about having a farm next door to us. We are concerned with protecting the character of the neighborhood. We are concerned with the sounds and the odor and the horseflies and all that having a farm next door would bring to our neighborhood. It's a neighborhood. That's why we chose to live there. It's not an agricultural area. We definitely think it would affect our home environment and the quality of our life on our property, outside gardening, the outdoors, even just having our windows open.
Sure.
We have concern, we're on a hill, I mean, it's a major hill there. Management of manure and runoff and that would be an extreme concern. That would be coming down towards Western Avenue, down that hill. The breeze that comes up the hill, we get quite a good wind coming up, so I'm not sure how you manage the odor. And, a acceptable level of odor would be none for us from that context.
Did I miss something, or is there no real indication of how many animals we're talking about?
Beyond a modest amount, no, there's no indication.
Okay.
They list specifically horses, donkeys,
We know how
one
many.
donkey, hens, and similar farm
Oh, yeah.
animals.
No, I saw that. I wasn't sure.
It's-
Horses can mean a lot of things, you know?
Right,
Yeah,
and how do you know if if they have allowed one, then they might have 8 the next week, I don't know.
Sure.
The other thing, I'm a little confused in the application. One application says it's residential neighborhood. The other one says it's rural residential.
Yeah, it's all right.
I know that the lower houses on Orchard Street are residential. I believe when I looked at the map, that the rural residential starts with their property.
It starts immediately to the north of their property.
It starts
Or
with
it starts with our property. So if it starts with our property, I'm saying you're in a residential area.
Right.
It's neighborhood,
It's a neighborhood,
not a farm.
and it's not a farm. So, we'd like to keep it a neighborhood, so. that's all.
Thank you.
Those are our objections.
I understand.
Okay.
What's the size of the property? Oh, I got it.
My name's Arlene Hanson. I'm in a butter across the street. From what I read online, I'm fine with the application. Looking forward to some composted manure maybe.
I will say something.
Sure, go ahead. And just,
Pamela Harvey, 152 Orchard Street. My property is directly across the street from the Raptis property. And historically, the 1/2 or 1/3 of my house was a barn, which has been converted into a separate living space, but contains 3 stalls that are behind my property, and we have had horses there in the past for historical purposes, not since 1980s. And I have no objection to the plan, this particular use. Thank you.
are there any other members of the public who wish to speak to this application? So, I mean, it seems to me the abutters' concerns could be dealt with if we conditioned the permit on the applicants not having any smells or sounds that travel from their property to the next. But I don't know what you guys think.
Can we limit the amount of animals? I mean, it says horses.
I don't think we can limit the amount of the animals, but This is my first animal-related application, I'm not really sure.
I knew
It
you didn't go
is a
through the
conditional
chicken
use, so
thing,
you
huh?
can place any reasonable conditions to achieve the performance standards of the code.
It's frustrating because we don't even know how many they propose, you know?
Well, isn't there a size of the,
It would
the
have been
size
nice if
of
they'd
the
been
property around the barn and stuff that the animals would probably go outside, so how much are we talking about?
They have 15 acres.
I mean, what we could do is continue this to the next hearing and ask them for more information about what they
I would
actually
have
plan
liked
to
to
put
have.
there.
Yeah, I'd like to-
I would
Because
like
I
to
mean,
have,
it's a
yeah.
donkey and 2 horses, that's a
Yeah.
lot different than something else.
Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
vote for it based on
Okay, let's-
not having enough
Why don't
information.
we move to continue it, and we'll have Mr. Bannon request some actual numbers so that we understand what kind of operation we're thinking about here.
And maybe,
And where the barn is gonna be,
Why
and
can't this person be here?
what's gonna be fenced, where they're gonna be.
I believe they were on upstate New York, so it was a travel issue. So specifically, the board would like to know the types and number of animals, and given it's a neighborhood concern, should we ask them about how they manage waste and odor at this point?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Location, fencing,
Yeah,
how far they're gonna fence from the property line.
And what the size of the barn is, I'd be interested in that.
right.
And how they're going to control runoff from the barn or whatever.
okay, so let's have a motion to continue. I think Mr. Bannon understands his charge.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Any members of the public want to weigh in on what we're doing here? You may if you want.
It's a question about the sound.
Just go to the microphone. It's for the people who are watching us on BCTV's benefit. It doesn't actually do anything here, but.
I don't know what you can do to limit sound, but I'm thinking dogs are louder than horses.
Oh, yeah.
We have many dogs.
It may be that can't be mitigated. I doubt that sound is the primary concern of any of the board members, but the smell, that's probably important to square away. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Okay.
James, did you say that it's continued to the meeting of the 17th?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Hold on to this.
The next application is 2017-21 Commonwealth Dairy.
This is where I have trouble with the trees.
What about, James, what about the second one? What to do with
Did I skip an application? I'm sorry, I may have skipped an application.
But his,
No.
No?
doesn't he have one that he wants to do some kind of, yeah, but that's
That's
homeopathic?
That's later.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's our second
Sorry.
to last one.
My fault.
Okay, application 2017-21 Commonwealth Dairy. Gentlemen, if you would just identify yourselves for the viewing public and the record.
Brad Sanderson again, Stevens and Associates, the engineer for the project.
Sam Garland, Commonwealth Dairy, Director of Facilities.
So, I think Commonwealth has been before the board twice before. There was the original facility that was put up in 2009, 10. And then there was another addition that took place a couple years later. And at this point, they've grown, I think the best way for me to equate how well they've grown is that I think they started out with a process flow of, say, 24,000 gallons a day, and now they're up to 80. Is that what it is? They're looking at 100, and they want to move to 250,000 gallons a day of process flow, which there's a correlation here with actually the yogurt production. So we're here to look at an expansion that would add some process ability, wastewater treatment, and some building improvements, as well as really the staff, which is the parking. Right now they have a parking deficiency, and actually I think you've been in front as well for some subdivisions that have occurred at the campuses too. So where to start? So what I'll do is just sort of point out on the site plan some of the things that are taking place. The first project was the new building, which was included this footprint right here. And then the second project, which was approved, included an addition to this back end of the building. The current project is to relocate the process which deals with the waste to a building that's out here so that they can utilize that space for manufacturing. And what will take place is that they'll end up with additional treatment in this area. They'll end up with silo storage for the waste, because the purpose of that building is to dewater or take the solids out of the waste stream so that when they send it to the municipal sewer system, it doesn't clog up everything. It reduces odor as well. And you need basically different silos to handle that. There's a propane storage tank as well in this location, and that is for the heating for the entire plant. Currently they have a group of tanks here and a group of tanks here. They'd be consolidated to this one location. The reason for this location is that the property line is basically through here, and then you start getting into natural resource issues back there where there's a stream. So in order to keep it similar to this back location, we needed to be where they could have easy access, and as well as a way to get the trucks into that building to actually do the cleaning. The process currently is that they come in, they receive the milk in this location, and at the same time they clean the tanker truck. So what would happen in the future is the tanker truck would continue to come to this location to dump the milk, but in order to get another truck in to receive more milk, they actually pull it out and will drive into this building to clean it so that they can go a little bit faster and receive milk quicker. So for a truck to come in here, back in, dump, then it comes out, and then back into here, there's really no other good place on site to make that happen. So it needs to be proximate to this area. Then the cleaning of the wastewater also takes place in this general area too. There's a bridge that takes the waste that's in the building, goes over the top of the driveway and into this building. So there's one central location for the cleaning portion of the product. From a storage perspective, they need more volume for storing the raw milk. And so there's a new silo that's proposed here, and along this bank of silos, we'd be upgrading those silos to larger silos to have capacity. There's also one small addition back here, which is also part of the process inside that they need to make that happen. We'd be adjusting the fire lane to make that happen. There's also, in order to make all this come together and avoid wetland disturbance, there's going to be some tall retaining walls in this area, and they're tall, one, because of, again, we're close to the property line. We want to avoid setbacks to the property line, but we also want to avoid impacts to the wetland and the buffer. So we're not into the wetland itself or the stream buffer that comes through here, but they are taller walls than the 8 foot that's out there, that's listed in the regulations. So we're looking for a waiver on that. They range from, let's get the height here, 2 to 22 feet. And the type of wall that's being built is would be a soldier pile type wall where you wouldn't be excavating on the back side of it. You would basically drill piles down where you want the wall, you put a facing on it and dig it out as you go. That way you're not disturbing the neighboring property and you're not disturbing the wetlands.
Is that sheet piles? Is that what you're
Similar, but it's not exactly. It could be a sheet pile. It's one of those things, it hasn't been 100% designed, but we're thinking more of a lagging situation. And then there's obviously some hardscape in front of that for maintenance and just have a clean site to work from. As you come back around, there's a new addition proposed for the manufacturing in the front to handle the additional capacity and some adjustments that's taking place. Currently, that space has administrative staff in it. That administrative staff, some of it would stay here, and we're looking for off-site buildings at this point to locate these administrative staff that aren't essential to being in the building. The parking that's in here gets pushed in this general location so that we could actually be up against the building and there won't be much of a green space between the building. And the reason for that is to accommodate a scale for weighing the milk here and also to accommodate truck storage. So as someone is waiting to come in and unload, they could actually stack up right here and here before they go in. Similarly, this is the shipping area where the finished goods and the dry goods come from. They could potentially stage here and back into the loading dock as they become available. So there's 22 spaces through here. There's 6 spaces here. And currently, the driveway that enters the property is through here, but in order to create an efficient flow and to provide and to separate from Delta Business Campus, we're proposing a new driveway that's elevated. It'll be this would be eliminated. This driveway would be elevated over the stream and below this. So there's a retaining wall, there's some abutments, and there's a box culvert for the existing stream with that crossing. But it also provides better circulation as far as getting into this dry dock. Currently here, you got to actually make a reverse turn to get into it. If we come in, they don't have that reverse turn anymore, and it just makes the efficiency of the dry dock a lot better. And to the left of that is the additional parking. Right now, they have a parking issue. I think they've sort of grown more than the number of employees that they initially had permitted, which is, I think was previously permitted for 90. And they want to, in the 5-year plan, be up at 137 employees. And approximately 18 of those that are there today would go off-site. So it's a little bit more of an increase from the production point of view if we kept the administration on site. So we have a need for additional parking, which is what we're proposing here. This is currently, there's a house that's right here. It is in the industrial zone. It's what's referred to as the Holby House because they were the previous owners. We would take that down or actually relocate it. There's an interested party in reusing that building, so we're working to accommodate that. There are wetlands actually back here in this general neck of the woods where the shading takes place. This dark line is a 50-foot wetland buffer, and we're trying to avoid those wetland impacts, this buffer impact. We don't have any wetland impacts over here except for a class 3 in this area. This is a class 2 wetland. But we're trying to also avoid those class 2 wetland buffer impacts. So we're proposing tall retaining walls to support the parking in that area as well. And those range from 7 to 26 feet around this perimeter. This generally slopes downhill, going from top of the sheet to the bottom of the sheet. So that the taller walls are down here. This vegetation would all stay in place, so those walls would be relatively concealed. There's walls here, but as you come up Paul's Road, this vegetation and this small berm will provide a shield, a visual shield to the walls on this side as well. But the main, if you're looking at cost, you wouldn't put all these walls in. The main reason we're putting these walls in is simply to avoid the natural resource impacts. So for the number of spaces, currently through here, we have 48 spaces, and I think they're parking in areas where there aren't designated spaces right now. And we want to, this proposed site plan would give 114 spaces between here, here, and down through here. And that's passenger vehicles, that's not trucks. There's trucks, there's additional spaces through here, and then obviously there and here. Stormwater. So from a stormwater perspective, we have coverage for the work under the main site from the Delta Business Campus stormwater permit. We will be applying for a state stormwater permit to handle anything that's above that. So most of this work and all of this work would be covered under the stormwater permit. The stormwater system would be buried in here, and we'd end up with a sedimentation basin that goes to a sand filter system that would actually provide the treatment for it. And then there's chambers that would detain the peak flow before it gets discharged down to this area. So that's the site. What we're here for is site plan approval. We're here for, just list this off real quick. Site plan approval, we're looking for conditional use approval for wetland buffer impact, and wetlands impacts Act 250, and it lists the riparian buffer, but that doesn't apply here, right? Because we're outside the riparian buffer with the 50-foot setback.
Yeah, I think you just demonstrate that you're not impacting.
Trying to think if it would be best to be quiet and answer questions, or would it?
Why don't we lob a few and we'll see how it goes. I saw that snow's going to be trucked off. What are you going to do with it before that happens?
There's small storage areas in here, there, and there. Actually, you have a practice now that I'll let you speak to the snow storage removal as far as how your current practice is. It wouldn't change a whole lot, I wouldn't think.
No, and actually, well, the last couple of years, we've not had to really be too concerned about that. We've been able to make do with the spaces that are available there.
Right. So I think they would take over a couple spaces where they needed to, and then you would just immediately get in and start trucking on site.
How high are the parking lot lights going to be?
21 feet. Yeah, that shows up on the site plan and the submittal what we gave earlier.
I probably just missed
lower
it.
left. No, it's not. I had to look for it myself. It's in the lower left-hand corner.
There was an issue here with these peach trees, the pear trees. Pear trees. You see that?
Yeah, we're open to that. I mean, we worked with Delta on the previous lot, and that's over here. And they had a thought that they'd like to have an edible sort of environment over there.
Well, I may have tipped my hand, but what about peach?
There we go. There's a lot of different ones. You're also trying to provide some street trees, some shape. It gets to height, and but we're open to adjustments. We just chose that.
One of each.
Where do we have a comment?
Apples, cherries, peaches. No, not very.
Sure.
Well, the other piece is from the zoning perspective. You want to have enough canopy to create some shading. I'm not sure that would happen with those type of trees. But we could go away from that. We could end up with any sort of street tree. We can make a recommendation to the...
I mean, we can always just allow administrative approval. And
Yeah.
Brian probably has more expertise on this than we do.
We're pretty flexible.
I don't know. Do any of you have any problems with letting administrator make the call? Okay. So was the situation about the wetland buffer and the comments just a mistake? Did we have a misunderstanding?
No, the wetland buffers are there. It's the riparian buffer. I think that there was...
So you are disturbing the wetland buffers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we're actually applying for a wetlands permit for that. what happens is that there is a stream that's mapped, that's in this neck of the woods, that's on USGS,
Okay.
and we are right on the edge of the 50-foot setback from it. That was the thing I think that got put into the.
And you can mulch those and plant them with the wetland plants?
Here, we're actually planning on not disturbing the riparian buffer, but from the wetland perspective, we are looking for permanent impacts in this area from the DAF. If there is a line that shows up right through there, so this neck of the woods right here is part of a disturbance in the buffer. There's a slight little buffer impacts down here where we blend in to the existing one.
Do you have any knowledge of what the state is going to want you to do about that?
We haven't submitted the application, but I've been in contact with them. We've actually revised this plan partly to accommodate them. So we had more impacts in this area for an administrative building to be on site, and they haven't. I sent a request in recently that commented about some restoration work in this area because there was some intermittent stream buffer impacts that aren't regulated by the town.
Right.
So we're coordinating that effort. At the same time, I was coordinating the wetlands, and I did not receive any negative feedback on this particular site plan, but they were silent about it as well.
Okay.
Up until that point, I was getting positive feedback that the wetlands people would be okay with this.
Okay.
So you're going to maintain the 50-foot buffer?
The riparian buffer. There's two buffers. One's a wetland, one's a riparian.
Right. And down there, you're going to fill in the class 3 wetland?
That's correct. That's the proposal.
And you have to get permission to do that?
We do, and I spoke with the wetlands lady on site with that, and she was okay with that particular one, provided that we maintained these buffers without disturbance, which is why she was okay with that. And it was actually it was not a pool. It was an interesting type of wetland that actually was sloping. So it wasn't a vernal pool. The grade slopes through it. It drains. It's just a little wet, damp area, and it's isolated. So it's not connected. It's not physically connected to this wetland here, and it's not physically connected to the wetlands down here either.
The class 3?
The one that we're looking to fill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there no way to get the retaining walls beneath 16 feet?
Not without getting into those buffers. That's the issue. The reason for them being as they are is to do as much as we can to avoid the different buffers that are out there.
Okay. And those aren't really, the walls themselves are not really designed yet, but at some point you'll have an engineering design?
Partly, yes. That's the reason you don't have a stamped application, a stamped plan in the application, is we wanted to get your feedback before we did that.
Okay.
So that's a variance, right?
I don't think
The wall
so.
height?
It's just a waiver.
Not really. There's a specific standard for walls, but I think in this case, the application is proposing the retaining walls as part of the riparian buffer application and the wetland buffer application and meeting those standards. So it's a matter of balancing those.
So we can do a waiver?
It wouldn't be a waiver. The board just has to balance the conflict between the different provisions.
It's a mitigation for a different situation, really what we're looking at it as.
And those have to be approved by the state, right?
What's
The
that?
walls.
No, they have to be stamped by a professional engineer. There's no state review that I'm aware of.
Did you see the comment on the sign location?
Yes, let me speak to that. So, we wanted to put the sign at the front entrance. Obviously, it makes sense. Currently, it's located right out here. It's actually, it's in the setback that would exist out here today. But with the new rules, you need to be 10 feet back, and we actually skipped over that, didn't even see it. There is a couple options. Well, let me go a little bit further as to why this is an issue. So this is the Paul's Road right-of-way that comes up through. And Paul's Road used to, I believe, well, it stopped right there, But with the Delta Business Campus, we had to create a hammerhead for them to turn around for snow removal and just because it's not public once you get past the hammerhead. We'd be coming off that public access, and because it's odd, it actually comes right into this property a little bit. And if you continued the right of way down through, I think we'd still be in that, but it's a little unique. The slope pushes down to this stream, this culvert outlet right here, and there weren't a lot of good opportunities to have it in the front. And there's also right behind this utility pole that is, I think there's 3 of them there, right? One's a push pole, but it's 3-phase service. The service is the building and the park. We explored ways after we noticed, after we got comment, and there's the potential to push this back behind the poles and put it on pedestals that are just outside of that wall. It would work. It would be a little bit back, and I think from a delivery perspective, it would be a little unfortunate, because I think it would be better to have delivery trucks see this sign sooner rather than later, so that they weren't sneaking into the campus, which was one reason why we put it there. But we could move it back a little bit, and we could provide an updated plan, and we could put it way back, which would be out of sight, unfortunately, for anybody. And I think that would totally pull more people up into the Delta Business Campus that we'd not want to do.
A little back would still be in the 10-foot, you're saying?
No, actually, there's a sliver right here where we could get something in there.
Okay.
But it's, I'd say it's 50 feet off from the edge of pavement.
I'm not sure we can waive that. Can we waive that? Because it's not dimensional.
I'm not sure how we could approve.
I'm not sure if we can.
So, there's an option.
I see the logic of what you're saying.
Yeah, there's an option. It's just not as desirable.
I understand.
Yeah. Let me ask this if I can. Street numbers. I mean, those street number signs can go out front, right?
I believe
inside that right away.
That's not considered.
So potentially, we could put a street sign out there that basically says whatever the address is, and
yeah, I think
then they could have that. And then the Commonwealth will be behind it.
You're obligated to have the street numbers visible.
Can't you also have a directional, or am I incorrect about that?
The state has directional signage,
But they can't have a directional sign, even if it was a smaller, like, sort of addendum sign?
The setbacks, they're all kind of treated the same, but...
Yeah, okay.
We might be able to figure something out administratively,
But we can also, I mean, the sign piece of it, we could actually, as long as we provide a conforming location, we can work with the zoning administrator on it as well.
Yeah,
it's just, that's the logic how we got there, and to be quite honest, I was not thinking about setbacks, I was thinking about functionality when I put that there.
I understand. Did you see the fire comments?
Yep.
Are any of those problematic?
I just breezed through them real quick, so I'm sure. The first bullet, permit to construct, no problem. Sprinkler, no problem. The maximum height for the bridge, I feel like we can do that. Currently, it's at 12, which was roughly the height of the building that it was attached to. I think that the architect just said, okay, I can get a milk container truck through. Right. So I think we can go up there and get a 14-foot cover. Mm-hmm. We verified the turning radiuses within, we got all the way around to the backside of the fire lane without any trouble with the fire truck, so we feel, or the ladder truck, we feel good about that. The windsock, not a problem. And relocating the pumper, yeah, we'd have to redo the pumper connection and Knox box for when the addition goes in.
Assume that's all workable though,
yes.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. That's everything that I had. Other members of the board?
Can I ask, Brian, on your draft conditions, the
those are not his draft conditions for this one, I don't think.
I think they are.
My draft looks different than yours. What do it have to do with?
It has to do with the wetlands, and we can condition it that you have to get, he has to get a letter, right, saying it's okay to disturb the class.
Yeah, I think.
Under the Act 250
And
permit, they're gonna review any,
That's
so
right.
there's two permits, the Act 250, which I didn't speak to, except that we're looking for the approval there, which will cover every wetland that's on the site, including the one that's getting filled.
Okay.
And then there's the wetland permit, which we'll have to get, that deals with the Class 2 wetlands. And that, we can't do anything without either of those permits.
Brian's proposal was that they have to implement the state-approved wetlands restoration
Yeah,
plan.
that's what I was just looking at.
And we're all talking about the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? Members of the public? So, the way I see this is the motion would be for approval with a provision for administrative approval of the parking lot fruit trees, or whatever other kind of trees. That a state-approved wetlands restoration plan be implemented, that retaining wall designs that are final have to be submitted to the zoning administrator, that the conditions set forth in the fire department's proposals must be complied with. I think that was it. I suppose we should formally indicate that there would be a height waiver for the retaining walls, considering that they are designed to mitigate the impact on the wetland. And I'm not including the signs, not because I don't understand or agree with your logic, I just don't think we have the authority. Am I missing anything that we've got to?
I think there's a condition for a stormwater permit too, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
The schools and
I didn't care about the impact on the local schools, but if you want to ask him about it, it's fine.
no, it was just that was a comment on the draft decision.
Yeah, but the one of the conditions is the impact this will have on educational services. Is this going to have an impact on educational services?
If anything,
in
a
town?
positive impact. Most schools are looking for enrollment right now, and there'll be jobs created, which means employees coming in, and that would have a positive impact on the school's ability to, they have more than enough capacity and actually want students.
Anything else that I'm missing in that proposed motion? Well, we require Act 250 approval. We're not doing much without that anyway. So moved?
Yeah. So moved. Sorry.
We'll let Brian figure that one out. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't give it to you, it's complete.
Okay, so the next application is 2017-25. That's Joseph Fortier for FGREE LLC.
Jensen needs to get sworn in.
Oh, sure. Mr. Fortier, I've got to swear you in, all right?
Oh, I'm sorry,
That's all right. Can you raise your right hand? Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the cause under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
And I assume you're Mr. Fortier. I'm calling you Mr. Fortier.
Yeah.
Are you Mr. Fortier?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Good evening, everybody, and I apologize for being late.
That's all right.
I'm a managing partner of FGREE LLC, a company that owns 428, 434, and 436 Canal Street. One of our tenants, GPI Construction, wishes to update their sign at an existing signpost in the street. And what we're seeking tonight is approval for a common scheme premises ground sign. There's currently two commercial tenants at the properties, GPI Construction and Cabinetry.
Just give me a second to get organized here.
Sure.
Mr. Fortier, I'm sorry.
Yep.
So the bottom one's gone, Joe?
Since I've submitted the application, the Brattleboro Christian Training Center, who is on a month-to-month lease, they had been a tenant of ours for, probably close to 10 years, had given their notice and took their sign. So we're down to 2 commercial tenants.
Okay. Would you want the placard to remain there for the next tenant? Is that the intent?
It's gone.
It's gone. It was the property of the Christian Training Center, and
Took it.
But I mean, you don't want to put some sign back there later.
at this time, well, sooner or later, perhaps, but I guess for the purposes of this application, I guess would it be, let me think, would it be better off to leave the placard there empty for a possible future tenant?
I'm not sure.
It's not necessary. The board could just give an allowance for overall area for the common scheme premises sign. and
Okay.
Okay.
That would be outstanding. It could be used in the future however you see fit.
Okay. Do we correctly understand that the proposal here is 24 square feet?
So it's
2 feet by.
It's 12 square feet.
12 square feet.
No, the proposed sign is 6 feet by 2 feet.
Okay. And can you tell us how high it would be? The height?
Currently, the sign post is approximately 11 feet. The top of the sign post is 11 feet off the ground. So this sign would reside at the top of the post, probably roughly 10'6".
So that would replace the one that's there.
Yeah, what it is I'm also the president of GPI Construction, and we changed our logo a year or so ago, and we wanted to just replace the outdated sign with a new sign reflecting our new logo.
What would the lighting be?
There's existing downlighting on the sign.
So essentially, you're just changing the shape.
We're just pulling down the old GPI sign and
Right.
putting up a new GPI sign.
And Cabinetry is still there, and the Christian Training Center is.
Yeah, cabinetry is still there. Since I submitted that permit application, the Brattleboro Christian Training Center was on a month-to-month lease.
And they left.
And they left with fairly short notice. April 1st was at the end of their term. So it was their sign, and they removed it off the signpost.
And the kitchen, the cabinetry sign is also 6 by 2?
No, the cabinetry sign is, it's smaller. I don't know the exact dimensions. It's about 6 feet wide, probably about, I'd say 14 to 16 inches high. It's far less than the 12 square feet.
What is the size of the other signs on that side of the street like?
Well, there's the Shell station, there's the Coastal station,
Yeah.
there's the VIP, the hospital.
I can't remember what kind of sign VIP's got.
I think it's VIP is on the building.
Right.
It's not a,
Okay.
but the Shell station, the Coastal station, they're ground-mounted signs.
And they
So-
have the fuel price signs.
Fuel
That's what I'm
prices, and
talking
then they have, the Shell station has the subway, the subway tenant sign
Right.
below it, and then the large Shell logo. It's a similar height and scale to the signs on Canal Street.
I don't quite understand the suggestion here of to increase the sign height by width of additional sign panel over max height.
Yeah, so to be clear, the reason that this wasn't possible to do administratively is because of the zoning change, and as part of trying to make the area more pedestrian friendly, it's downscaling the signs and it's also making them shorter. So the maximum height now is, I believe, 8 feet.
Right.
So there's a question of whether, as part of the common scheme approval, you want to give them a little bit more height allowance.
Would it be too much trouble to just move the kitchen sign down and put the new GPI sign at a max of 8 feet?
And leave the posts where they are, instead, or cut the overall sign frame down.
Is it wooden?
Yes, it's wooden.
I was thinking the frame. Is that what you were talking about? Is that what I couldn't understand? I'm sorry, sometimes it takes a little while with me.
Yep.
I mean, would you have to take the whole thing out and replace it, or is that something that can be done?
Well, we would have to take the lighting down, reroute the circuitry, cut the frame down, rebuild it, move the signs.
I have a question for Brian. Does that mean that because this has been up before that change, that they have to meet that change? Don't they have before the change, they had this whole, the sign thing was there already, the posts and everything?
Yeah, the sign.
So if there's a change in the ordinance, do they have to then take everything down and redo it again?
You're not required to redo it just because it's changed, but as you redo your signage, you are required to bring it into conformance.
Although they can also bring it towards conformance, right? Not really?
I'm suggesting that you approve a common scheme premises sign, which relates in some reasonable way to the existing new zoning as a conformance sign, not as a reduction of non-conformance.
Not as what?
Not as a reduction of non-conformance.
Right.
The code doesn't actually have dimensional standards for common scheme premises signs, so the board has discretion.
Say that again?
Yeah, that's what we want.
It's up to you.
The code actually doesn't have any dimensional standards for the common scheme premises signs.
For the square footage of the sign, you mean?
That is correct.
So if he's under a certain height, if they're under a certain height, they have unlimited square footage?
No, no, you guys can determine what's reasonable as far as the height restriction and the area.
Okay. What does the rest of the board think?
Common scheme sounds good to me.
It's already there.
Members of the public, any comment to weigh in on this application?
And it doesn't matter that it's already there. What matters is that it conforms to the code.
Yes,
Right.
yes, I understand.
It's there, it's not grandfathered because he's making a change to it, just as if it was a new building. So, what do the members of the board want to do?
My sense is just to put the sign in and let it go. It's not an obtrusive sign at all.
No, it's not.
I think it's
I
much
say we
nicer
go
than
with
the other
the
one.
common scheme premises. using that as our guideline.
It's still non-conforming. I think we would just have to say we're waiving the standard, right?
It's not a matter of being non-conforming, you guys just have to say what the dimensions of the common scheme premises signs
Oh,
are.
okay.
That's
So
in
we
your
can
power,
say it can be 11 feet.
if you felt that's reasonable.
I think it is.
Having some basis for the just come up with a basis for the finding.
Eric, you
Seems
spoke
rational.
first, so you've got to fashion this motion.
Okay, I move that we allow the sign to be 11 feet high, no more than 11 feet high. And
How high is the sign now?
The sign post is 11 feet.
Actual sign will
The
be
actual
below that.
sign is
Oh,
about,
I thought it was over 11 feet. I heard 11.6 or something.
No,
no. The actual sign is about 10.6.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
but I mean, the post is considered part of the sign for the height requirement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I move that we allow the sign to be a maximum of 11 feet high and should be related in scale to those around. Is that pretty loose? Yeah.
I mean, I think you want to explain perhaps that you're giving the waiver because the sign, say, conforms to the character of the other signs in the neighborhood and is not, it doesn't particularly, infringe on the pedestrian visual experience. I don't know. Brian, if you have a better suggestion than me.
I think you could just look at the way the findings are drafted and see if that's acceptable to you.
Nearby signs developed under old code, you mean?
Pardon me?
Do you mean the nearby signs developed under the old code?
Yeah, that's a potential rationale, but
Right. I think that's what you said, right, Aaron?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what he said.
That's what I heard.
Okay, let's have a second.
A second.
Any further discussion? Members of the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Have a nice night. You're all set.
just to be clear, you're approving so that in future it can be up to 24 square feet, as it has been historically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they could put another sign
Well,
at the bottom, right?
you made the motion. I mean,
Yeah.
if that's the case, that's fine, as long as we're all on the same page. That's a yes?
Yes.
Okay. 24 square feet it is.
Now that's total area of signage on that signpost.
Right. The next application is 2017-2027, George Malouf for Matthew and Adrienne Raptis. No, Mr. Malouf. Okay, let's take a look at the application. So this is an application
Have a business.
of naturopathy, as I understand it.
Greenhouse?
What's that?
I was just reading, sorry.
Oh. It's to use the home as a home business, basically a home with an office attached or as part of the home.
Right.
And the home would be a naturopathic office, right? Yeah. Private naturopathic medical practice within the carriage house. So, since there's nobody here to ask questions to, but there are abutters who may want to have a comment on this. I suggest we let the public come first, just as we did with the other application on this site. Abutters, would you like to comment on the naturopathic medical clinic in the carriage house application?
I'm Arlene Hanson, we live at 138 Orchard, across from this property. I just want to be on record as an abutter in case anything is untoward about this. Right now, it sounds like a simple business in a home. I still don't know whose home, but in that house. Am I to understand Mr. Malouf will not be living there?
I think, well, I don't think we have the right to regulate this, but when somebody applies for a home business, the idea is that they live there and the office is either part of the home or attached to the home or within the same property. It's kind of like a tiny campus. Is that right, Brian?
Yeah, they do intend to live there.
With the family from New York and the animals?
No. Totally separate people. There's
Different buyer.
Two different people trying to buy the property.
that is correct.
Okay.
One person trying to buy it wants to have a farm, one person trying to buy it wants to have a...
Okay, thanks for clearing that up. And I did...
Yeah, I was kind of dazed and confused on that too, so.
Thank you.
So neither application wants a cut-through either. It's all existing driveway, and this office is just a change of use, not a building.
Yeah, well, this would potentially increase traffic by the patients and the staff. They indicate they want one staff, but they wouldn't actually change the physical parking arrangement for that. I think the farm one said that there would be no increase in traffic. That was the only thing I noticed that was different.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Pamela Harvey, 152 Orchard Street, directly across from the Raptis property. I do object as a butter to increased traffic on Orchard Street. Orchard Street is already used as a come-through to Route 9 from Meadowbrook Road, from Upper Dummerston Road, and the traffic literally never obeys the miles per hour limit. Even the people who live on Orchard Street don't go 25. And I have nearly been hit by ongoing traffic trying to walk my dog, to the extent that I don't try to walk my dog any longer on Orchard Street. I have 2 grandchildren who come up once a month and spend the weekend, and they are in danger to even consider riding their bike to the bottom of the hill to get to the park. So the idea of increased traffic on Orchard Street is basically appalling to me. And secondarily, the idea of having a business in a basically residential/row residential property. We accommodated the halfway house for the retreat up at the top of the hill, in that none of those folks that were living there basically had automobiles. However, I would prefer not to have a waiver to zoning a business on this part of Orchard Street.
Okay.
Dale, 21 Apple Tree Road, we're major butter to the property. One, it's residential, it's not commercial area. And there's considerable commercial businesses on Western Avenue already. We'd like to keep ours in neighborhood, not a business. Two, I don't know if any of you have driven down Western Avenue on a Saturday and tried to get out of Orchard Street. It was terrible. And to add more traffic to this area is detrimental. And again, we get back to protection of the character of the neighborhood. Also, we're concerned if there's signage out there, else the signage is going to go there. It's a gated property. If a truck comes up, it's waiting out in the street there, so it causes a little bit of traffic problems. And Orchard Street's pretty narrow. I mean, in places, it's one lane, especially in the middle of winter. So I think it's a traffic issue, or it's a traffic and safety issues.
To both the public who objected about the traffic, did you see that the applicant only wanted to operate it 2 days a week? And would that change your position at all?
I don't think a business should be up there. They should be in a commercial district. On top of that, there's only a path, they're also going to be having deliveries there, that type of thing. It's going to increase traffic.
Since we've only got members of the public and not the applicant, one last question. If the, I'm sorry.
I just, sorry, wanted to add, if it wouldn't matter to me that it was only 1 day a week. There is already an Office of Homeopathy or Naturopathic Medicine about a mile away in West Brattleboro, and I have friends for whom I routinely drive there to pick up medicines and herbs that have been left when the doctor is not there and it's not open at all. So there's a traffic flow associated with picking up items there, whether the office is open or not. I know that personally from my interactions with this other office, naturopathic office in West Brattleboro.
Okay. My only other question was going to be whether there might be a time during the day when it would be less impactful. For instance, if there was only traffic between 10 and 2, so you avoid the school rush. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Having going up and down at Orchard Street at various times, our businesses block Orchard Street, obviously. It is very difficult to come in and out of Orchard Street at any time. There is traffic. I think the only time may be 2 in the morning, something like that. But
I'm not sure you want that.
But during the day, it's very difficult to come out of Orchard Street.
Okay. Any further comment from the public?
One more. I would just like to amend what I have said after hearing my neighbors make very valid points about the traffic. The traffic's horrific, and there are no sidewalks. It's really not a user-friendly street for pedestrians, kids, or animals.
Members of the board?
No, I've driven down Orchard Street. Believe me, I feel the same way.
Well, let me ask this way. Are there 4 people who would want to approve this? Sounds like no. So there's a couple ways we can do this. We could give Mr. Malouf a chance to offer some evidence about traffic having not been here tonight. Or we could say, you should have been here. There are butters who came and they're concerned about traffic and we don't want to make them come again. And thus the application is denied.
I like that second part.
Yeah, because I don't see how he's going to fix the traffic situation.
Okay, so just so there's a record of this, I will move to approve application 2017-27. We don't even need a second. If it doesn't get a second, the motion fails.
I just wonder, we gave apparently this place is for sale.
Yes.
And we gave one of the potential buyers the opportunity to come back. Should we not shouldn't we just give them both the opportunity to come back?
Maybe.
I don't see how he's going to rectify it.
The reason I thought the animals deserved a chance was because it's such a strange type of permit. I'm not sure anyone applying for a permit like that would know what to expect. Whereas a business applying to be in a residential area, I would think they would reasonably expect that their neighbors would be concerned about traffic flow. That's just my own, that's why I inquired. But we can, if you want to make a motion, continue to give them that chance, we can vote on that too. Because I don't, if I'm not going to get a second, we can indicate as a matter that this motion fails for lack of a second. You can make your motion, well,
I'll withdraw the motion.
You sure? I can withdraw mine and you can move to continue it and we can see if we
Okay,
get
that's
4
fine.
votes. So I'll withdraw for the moment, just with no prejudice. You want to move to continue this application so they can offer comment on traffic?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
So if his motion gets a second, we'll talk about it.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any discussion? Should we give Mr. Malouf a chance to offer some information? Or should we say, this was your chance, you had notice, you didn't show? And the neighbors did. Well, if we don't, I mean, we don't have to discuss it, we can just have a vote.
Have a vote.
That's fine. All those in favor of granting the motion to continue? All those opposed? The motion fails.
I'm abstaining.
I'll get the abstention I saw. 1-4-1, excuse me. And so now, that being in the books, no hard feelings,
Yeah.
of course. I'll move for the approval of application 2017-27. I don't think I'm going to get a second, and so the record should indicate that the motion fails for a lack of second. So that is it for that application. I'm happy to have you ask a question if you wish. You should go to the microphone since we're on the record.
I wanted to make a comment. It also just occurred to me regarding the farm animals that the owner before Adrienne and Matt had 2 horses. Thank you.
Okay.
2 horses.
Okay, well, we'll note that at the next hearing. I don't think any of us feel particularly strongly one way or the other just because we don't really understand what the application proposes, and I think everyone here genuinely does want more information about that, whereas a naturopathic practice is kind of something we understand a little better. Anyway, Mr. Malouf's application is not approved. The final application, thank you for your patience, is Daniel Boyd for BNC Incorporated. Have a nice night. Okay. Mr. Boyd, can you tell us about your project, please?
Yes, I'm working on purchasing the property at 1063 Marlborough Road, Route 9, and as currently it's unoccupied. Previously, it was a naturopathic office down below. I'm just looking to take...
Building a blast wall?
I'm just saying, and I'm just willing to take that out and make just 2 residential instead of 1 commercial spot.
Okay.
So there'll be 4.
Pardon me, this is right next door to the post office, right? Am I correct?
No, you're up the road a
This
ways.
is by the Stony Brook Motel.
You're across from the Hamilton
Okay.
Farm.
Oh, you're further out? Okay.
Yeah.
He's 2 houses up from the Stony Brook as you head up to Marlboro, right? Is that right?
The Stony Brook.
The old Stony Brook Motel, the one where they do the
Yeah.
tag sales and
It's
stuff?
2 to 3. Yeah.
Mary Bowles over there.
Right. Brian, can I ask a question? I always thought this was approved as a matter that we didn't need to review these.
Oh, sure. It's a non-conforming use, an existing non-conforming use. It would also be a non-conforming use as a 4-unit. However, the board can approve the conversion from one non-conforming use to another non-conforming use if it feels there's no increased impact.
I heard you say it was a 2-unit.
What's that?
Is it 2 units or 4 units?
There was 2 residential up top and 1 office space down below, and I'm just turning it into the 1 office space into 2 residential. So there'd be 4 total.
Okay.
4 total residential.
Okay, I'm sorry. But if it had been a 2-family, he wouldn't have had to come before us.
That's correct.
Okay. Pardon me.
So is it predicated on the size of the space downstairs to turn it into 2? The footage?
No, it's because he's over 3 units. You could do up to 3, am I right?
I don't recall the exact number.
I don't know. It's because of the number of units.
So if you turn it into 1, then there wouldn't be any problem?
1 or 2 you've always got. That's why I was confused.
Yeah. All right.
Just trying to understand what I don't understand. footprint's not gonna change.
Nothing from the exterior, nothing really on the interior. There's already the walls there dividing everything.
How's the parking?
The parking, there was business there. I have it mapped out. There's plenty, and I'm also taking down a barn that's on the property that could be used for more parking if need be.
So, how many cars do you think let's say you don't take the barn down.
Okay.
How many cars can fit in that parking area right now?
On the left, and there's 2 parking spots, one on the left of the house, one on the right of the house. I bet you could get comfortably 10 per side.
And it's a dirt driveway, right?
Yes, and there is, on the left side, there is a garage there. There's a 2-car garage there existing.
Okay.
So the parking goes in this dark spot that you can't see?
Yes, right along the, yeah, on the left side. On the right side, there's still adequate parking on the other side as well.
Right.
Yes.
I'm just curious, do you plan to change the vehicle circulation? You've got 2 driveways. What are you gonna tell the people that live at the building about how to use it?
Basically, the 2 on the right, because it's the building shaped like a U. The middle is just a stairwell that leads. Basically, the 2 right apartments, that'll be your parking. The 2 left apartments, hopefully that'll be their parking. And that's the way I'm gonna try to divide the.
And there's room for the cars to well enough get out in either driveway?
Yes, there's turnaround spots right next to the garage on the left. And even if I don't take it, there's plenty of turnaround space.
Snow storage?
Yes, plenty.
Where do you put it?
Right now, because I just have driven down there while somebody else plows it. On the left side, it's right along the garage that's existing. They plow it all the way out there, a ways. And on the right side, right now, they're just plowing in front of the barn.
When it's plowed, when it's really built up, there's still 4 spaces at least?
Oh, at least, yes.
Could you put in some hedges so that when the vehicles turn around, the lights don't shine into the neighbor's house?
On the right side?
On the right side.
There's already a fence and trees and hedges there. On the left side is a road. I don't even know the name of the road.
Is that Stark Road?
Cup Road?
No, Stark Road, no. It actually goes out to the old pit, the gravel pit.
Oh, yeah.
There's that road, that abuts the property.
So if you're aiming a car, I suppose it would be kind of eastwardly that way.
Oh.
Across that road to the old gravel pit, is there a residence?
I believe there is a house, yes, there is.
All right.
Yes.
Could you plant some hedges on that side just so the lights
Sure.
aren't shining into their window?
Sure.
You're talking about back here?
No, I'm talking about, there's a house
This
here.
right? This one?
It looks pretty well shielded now that I
Yeah,
see
but there's
it.
big
Yeah,
trees there.
it's still pretty well.
Look at this picture.
Wait a second. Yeah, here's what. Wait a second.
Up here. If you look at this
Yeah,
picture,
right.
so you can see the trees, right? You see the fence right there? It's low.
What's
So
that
it's
little
the same.
shed off towards the back with the
Oh.
left driveway? It's like,
That's the 2-car garage.
okay, so that's
Okay.
this.
Yeah, and there is a
That's a
fence
lot of
along the
property.
road, and there's vines on the fence and stuff now. I do believe.
It looks like there's a house in between, it's Cider Mill Hill.
Right, yes.
Mill Hill,
Correct.
apparently. It looks like there's a little house in between you and that
Oh,
on the corner.
yes, there is, sorry. I
That's
don't have
okay.
the map with me, or the print, so.
Well, I mean, in any event,
Yes.
if you could put some hedges in so you're not shining the headlights, the tenants are not shining the headlights in.
Absolutely,
Okay.
no problem.
I'm good with it, subject to the hedge, basically.
It requires a couple more street trees to comply
Oh, yeah,
as well.
yeah, and the other, sorry.
How many was it? 3?
Yeah.
Plant 3 trees?
Shrubs, trees, I
No.
just need to know the
So
size.
besides what I was talking about with some shrubs, just to provide a screen,
Okay.
it's up to you as long as they block the headlights.
Okay,
We have a street trees requirement for trees along the street on the front, and you have 2, 5 are required.
Okay.
They don't have to be big, they just have to get big in 50 years.
Oh, okay.
But if you put in 3 trees that are real trees and not just
The shrubs
a
that are
rose
there,
bush,
yes, okay.
you'll be fulfilling that requirement.
Perfect.
And I mean, the idea is to kind of, over the next couple of generations, create the tree-lined road effect.
Yeah.
Is there any lighting out there in the parking lot?
There's, besides the exterior lighting of the house, no.
Okay. You're not gonna put any signs up?
I'm actually taking the one down that's there that was from the old business.
Great, we like that. That's everything that I had. Brian, you had the note on renewable energy. If he's got no outside, if he's got nothing that's unattached to the house, we can't regulate what he's doing in there, can we?
There's one of the conditional use approval criteria is energy conservation. That's pretty broad, so it could be insulation or upgrading your heating system. Are you planning anything like that?
As of right now, I believe the boiler is no good, so I will be replacing it.
So
yes, I'll be upgrading that to a new boiler.
will you be using a high efficiency boiler?
Yes, because I will be paying for the heat.
You know, some landlords have been getting heat exchangers. And they put the split systems in each unit, so each tenant will have their own bill.
I think the electrical company's running a promotion right now, actually.
For that.
Yeah, I just got something in the mail.
Are there tenants already there upstairs?
It's completely vacant building right now.
It's totally vacant?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just note for the record and for those at home, there's nobody in the public here tonight. Let's have a motion to approve the application, providing that there be some plantings to shield the light headed towards it's sort of north and sort of east abutting property in between this and Cider Mill Hill. 3 street trees evenly spaced that need to be planted. They don't need to be matured, they just need to be trees. Replace the boiler with a low, high efficiency unit, excuse me. Oh, I said the east, I guess it is the west, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd be going west. Yeah.
Route 9 goes west.
Yeah, you'd think a guy from Marlboro would know that.
Don't we have to say it's okay to have the 2 apartments?
Yep, we would be allowing the non-conforming use, the 2 apartments. You'd be required to have 4 spaces at all times. Is there anything dead or dying in landscaping?
Not out front, no.
Okay.
Because the 4 acres out back, you see where it's divided. I don't know what's back there.
The 4 acres out back, I don't think we're too
I don't
worried
know what's
about.
back there.
So if there is anything dead or dying out front, that it be replaced. That the exterior finishes, painting, and landscape be complete before certificate of occupancy is issued. I think that's it.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for your patience.
All right, is it a hot water system in there, or?
It runs through the boiler.
If you want to get a high efficiency boiler, you can go on Craigslist. Everybody's going to gas down in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I did mine.
Interesting.
Mine really cheap, too.
Gastown.
Thank you.
Oh, we haven't adjourned.
Oh.
It's getting...
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.